Welcome to the video, guys. We got more reports out on China's sneaky behaviour relating to the coronavirus. While our government and MPs have been dealing with the coronavirus to the point where they've had to summon a Chinese-owned firm's executive over security concerns, which is reported here on the BBC's website, and we also have an article from Sky News where a former director of this company, Imagination, has come out criticising the way the company is being controlled by a Chinese state organisation. A leading UK-based firm will be summoned on Tuesday by MPs to answer questions over security concerns. There are concerns that the Chinese owner of Imagination Technologies has renewed efforts to transfer ownership of sensitive security software to companies controlled by China. Lawmakers worry the coronavirus crisis is diverting attention from controversial technology transfers, which is something me and many others have spoke about throughout this situation. How many things have gone under the radar because the media and government are so caught up in dealing with the coronavirus panic. That is, of course, fueled 24 hours a day by the lamestream media. The fear is that networks in the UK, Europe and the US could be compromised. Speaking to the BBC, Tom Tugendhat, the chair of the Foreign Affairs Select Committee, said he was concerned that technology developed by Imagination Technologies based in Hertfordshire could be used to fine-tune the design of so-called backdoors into strategically important digital infrastructure. The world has changed and companies, particularly tech companies, are on the front line, said Mr. Tugendhat. Whoever writes the code writes the rules for the world more than any regulation passed by bureaucrats. There's no point in taking back control from Brussels only to hand it over to Beijing. And I would have to agree with that situation there. Which is why, like I've said before, trade and other deals we got going on with China need to be revised right now. Imagination Technologies was acquired by a US-based but Chinese state-owned investment firm called Canyon Bridge in September 2017, which is in turn owned by a Chinese state-owned investment fund called China Reform. Mr. Tugendhat said Theresa May's government approved the acquisition on the basis that Canyon Bridge was licensed and regulated by US law. Because guess what this Canyon Bridge Chinese front company has gone and done? Since then, it has moved its headquarters to the Cayman Islands, and as such is no longer a US-controlled entity. Meaning the safeguards or excuses that Theresa May had given to give the green light on this deal have been taken away by them swiftly moving the company to a different country, namely the Cayman Islands. Several senior executives, including Chief Executive Ron Black, have stepped down recently, citing concerns about the future direction and ownership of the company. Chief Product Officer Steve Evans and Chief Technical Officer John Rayfield also resigned recently. Mr. Evans is understood to have said in his resignation letter, "I will not be part of a company that is effectively controlled by the Chinese government." An attempt by China Reform to stage a boardroom coup 10 days ago by appointing 4 of its own directors were aborted, but the call for evidence comes amid renewed concerns that the Chinese owners of Imagination are preparing a fresh attempt to transfer sensitive technology patents to mainland China, which I'm surprised they haven't already done, and maybe they got caught and stopped, who knows. As well as designing graphics and virtual reality software for computer chips, industry experts say that Imagination also produces software which can detect whether any weakness in sensitive digital networks, so-called backdoors, are the result of error or intention. The UK has already approved the limited use of Chinese-owned Huawei equipment in the construction of new superfast 5G networks that promise to deliver better connectivity for use in autonomous cars, utilities, power stations, the National Health Service and many others. There is no suggestion that Huawei is directly connected to Imagination or its ultimate owners, the state-owned China Reform Investment Fund. Well, I would say there could be a suggestion of that, since everything in China is controlled by the Chinese government. In the UK, the Treasury is considering plans for the state to take ownership stakes in thousands of businesses to prevent mass bankruptcies or businesses unable or unwilling to take on extra debt. I don't like the sound of that situation situation there, but I don't know none of the detail, so we'll have to wait and see what happens with that. The situation is delicate as many EU countries are gratefully accepting donations of virus-fighting equipment from China. Apparently, China sold it to Italy. It wasn't really a donation. The country, which appears to be first in, first out, is now emerging from a crisis from which it bore the initial brunt because it created the fucking situation. This piss poor BBC article has failed to point that out once. Neither Imagination Technologies nor its owner, China Reform, returns the BBC's request for comment. Imagine my surprise on that one. And here we have to finish up this video. Ex-Imagination Chief. Chinese are using coronavirus cover to seize control. Zhihong Yassi has warned ministers that China Reform may be trying to exploit the coronavirus crisis, Sky News learns. A former chief executive of Imagination Technologies has warned the government that a state-owned Chinese investor is using coronavirus cover in a bid to seize control of the British chip developer. Sky News has learned that Zhihong Yassi, who ran the company until 2016, has written to ministers at the Department for Digital Culture, Media and Sport to urge them to intervene to prevent Imagination's re-domiciling. The latest development in the escalating political row over China Reform Holdings' attempts to gain control of the Hertfordshire-based supplier to Apple comes days after Sky News revealed that the Trump administration has begun investigating the situation, so even the Trump administration's onto it. Zhihong told ministers that he suspected that the Chinese actions are heavily or even totally political, and even suggests they thought they can use coronavirus cover and do their deeds whilst our government is dealing with that crisis. This suggests their long-term intentions are not good and very self-centered. Well, we've known that's the Chinese government's intentions for a long time. That shouldn't really be a shock to anyone. We already know that last week top executives resigned. We see that already. Last Friday, Imagination issued a statement containing news of Mr. Black's departure and saying that its shareholders were committed to increasing the chip's designer investment in the UK. It was, however, short on detail about safeguards to ensure that it would remain a UK headquartered company, likely because it's not going to. When Sky News revealed details of China Reform's plot to take control of Imagination 10 days ago, one insider said that the move appeared to have been timed at the point of maximum distraction for ministers dealing with the coronavirus pandemic. Since then, Oliver Dowden, the Cultural Secretary, has told MPs that the government is urgently seeking clarity about the situation amid concerns about the pace of technology transfers to China. The intervention by Committee on Foreign Investment in the US comes 2.5 years after it blocked Canyon Bridge's takeover of Lattice Semiconductors in 2017. Canyon Bridge retains offices in the US but re-domiciled to the Cayman Islands, as we heard, after CFIU's intervention in the Lattice deal. And there you can see they got a new relationship with Apple, but it's definitely a fishy situation in my opinion, and the government needs to take some time out of the coronavirus to take a look at this situation and every other deal we have with China by the looks of it. Because as these directors are saying, there's clearly some sneaky shit going on. Now before I go, I've started doing live streams and uploading gaming content on my second channel. If you would like to come and join me for a live stream to chat in real time, have an interest in gaming related content on YouTube, or just want to follow me over there because you are a legend, the link will be down in the video description below and as a pinned comment. I hope to see you all there. Now as always, before I go, I want to thank our PayPal, Patreon, Subscribestar and YouTube members for supporting the channel, along with everyone who watches my videos. Remember to let me know what you guys think down in the comment section below. Leave a like, subscribe with the notification bell and share this video as it helps the channel a lot. And I will see you all in the next one.
There is a pattern consistent throughout history of oppressed people turning on the oppressors. Slaves against their owners, the peasantry against the feudal barons, colonies, Mr. Verhofstadt, against their empires. And that is why Britain is leaving. And it doesn't matter which language you use, we are going and we are glad to be going. We're off.